Well, hello Year 7, Miss Allen here, just going to do a bit of a review of the things that we have learned so far during our lockdown Latin lessons. Okay, so I've got a series of slides here that I just want to go through very quickly before I set you off on your main task for today. So, one of the first things that we learnt with Latin was that they don't have what we call in English an article, which is just a fancy way of saying a and the, okay? So they don't have that in Latin. We need to make sure that we put that in. So, for example, grumio pavonem portat, all right, means grumio is carrying the peacock. We need to make sure that we've got that a or the in there to make sure that it makes sense to our English audience, to make sure that our translation makes sense. As another example, caecilius pavonem gustat means not Caecilius tastes peacock, but Caecilius tastes the peacock. Okay, we always need to make sure that we insert a and the into our translations to make sure that they make sense. Next up then, Latin only uses capital letters for names. So you'll have seen in the translations that you've done before, and you'll see in any subsequent translations, that the only time a capital letter is used is when it's for a name. So that could be grumio, it could be metella, it could be caecilius, it could be quintus, alright? So let's have a look at this first sentence here then. Ancilla grumionem delectat. Now, delectat means pleases, ancilla means slave girl, and we know that grumionem is obviously grumio. But what you'll notice is that even though ancilla comes at the start of the sentence, it doesn't have a capital letter, okay? However, it is the subject, so we're going to translate that first. The slave girl pleases grumio. However, I will never say that Latin sentences never start with a capital letter, because the following can happen. Grumio est laetissimus. Okay, so grumio here is a name and he is starting the sentence. Alright, so he is a capital letter because grumio is his name. Grumio is very happy. That means the verbs that we've encountered so far, all of the doing words, they all end in T, okay? This is because they're all present tense verbs, and they're all third person singular. Now, back in my day, we did have to used to learn things like third person singular in primary school, but I'm not sure you do. But essentially, it just means he, she, or it is doing the verb now in the present, okay? So we translate them all as, for example, intrat can be enters or is entering, depending on what you fancy. Delectat means pleases or is pleasing. Sedet can mean is sitting or sits, okay? You will never be marked down for translating verbs that end in just a T, like that, okay, in any other way than is sitting or sits, okay? So, the subject of the sentence is the one doing the verb. The object of the sentence has M on the end and has the verb done to it. So this was the kind of complicated lesson that we had last lesson, okay? So just as an example, I want to run through these couple of sentences here. With this first one is one that we've seen before, okay? So, ancilla, the slave girl, delectat, pleases, grumionem, grumio. So, you can see that I've put Grumio last in my English translation because his name has got an M on the end of it. Okay? So let's have a look at this one then. Caecilius grumionem non videt. Okay, so non videt means doesn't see. We've got Caecilius and we've got grumionem. Now, I'm going to be looking for the one that's got the M on the end to be putting after my verb. So, it's going to go in the order Caecilius doesn't see Grumio. Okay? If a name is written as an object in Latin, we need to translate it with the spelling of the subject. Now, this one sounds a bit complicated until you see what I mean. Okay? So, caecilium, for example, never translate it as caecilium, because that's not Caecilius's name, is it? Alright, we all know what Caecilius's name is by now. His name is Caecilius. Alright, and that is how we write it in English. Grumionem, we write his name as Grumio. Metellam, Metella. Clementem, Clemens. Quintum is Quintus. And Cerberum is Cerberus. Okay, that's how we write all of these names when we translate them in English. Okay, one last thing then. We get loads and loads of different words from Latin. So, for example, a fancy word that you may or may not have heard before is an adjective circumspect. Okay, now this comes from the Latin word circumspectat, which you may or may not know, you may or may not remember, means looks around. He, she, or it looks around. But in English, the word circumspect means suspicious. But can you see how we've got the Latin, how we've got the English word circumspect from the Latin circumspectat? Okay, just one more example of this one then. Agriculture. Okay, this is a derivative that comes from the Latin ager. Okay, so the Latin word ager means field in Latin. So, funnily enough, agriculture is the science of cultivating farms. Okay, hopefully you can see then how we get some words that come and travel down to us through the ages directly from Latin into English, which can make learning vocabulary a lot easier when there is a derivative that we can learn. Okay, well, I hope that you have a good attempt at translating the MacArthur passage. Please do get in touch with either myself or Miss Johnson if you're taught by Miss Johnson if you need any help, okay? Short, polite messages on Show My Homework are always appreciated if you do need to get in touch. Alternatively, you can email either of us. Okay. Good luck, everybody.